Oh, yeah. Five-star. LSU. I said, they ain't ready for the LSU. No, they ain't ready for the LSU, huh? They ain't ready for the LSU. No, they ain't ready for the LSU. We the best in the league if you looking for talent. LSU going hard, but we beat Alabama, then we going out to Florida. Drown the Gators, everybody getting bucked when we step in the stadium. This is the LSU anthem, you know it's a hit. You don't know another rapper two-step like this. See me screaming out the window, yelling purple and gold. I'm an LSU fan, girl, you know how we roll now. Back and back it on up. Hey, 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 way down in the back.
I guess it helps to add us into the show.
TA, we're live. I was wondering what was going on there. It's all good. Hey, it happens sometimes. It happens. Welcome into the Tigers Avenue Show, Thursday edition. Appreciate y'all being in here. As always, looking forward to a good show. There's lots to cover tonight. We took Monday off, seeing as there was the national championship going on. We figured most attention would be there. And then Tuesday's game, the plan, Zach, was to go on Tuesday and have a show, once LSU kicked Nicholls. But, however, that
did not happen.
And everyone stayed fixed on the ball game, which is okay. We were stuck on the ball game too. We would rather watch the ball game than So things happen, but here we are. Got a big recap for you. Fantastic weekend last weekend for the LSU Tigers. Big time stuff from the pitching staff and some players, I would say some unsung heroes, Zach, in this batting order that continue to impress. And, legendary performances last weekend. And we'll get into all that. And then we'll talk about the midweek as well, because it was an interesting game. And there were several things that were, I would say, a pretty big positive for you, considering how things played out pitching-wise with Oklahoma so perfectly. So many guys didn't pitch. It was like the perfect scenario. And we'll talk about all that, obviously. But it was encouraging to see what we saw on Tuesday night with Nicholls, with a couple guys that you hope really will come along because you need them in the weekend. And they had some solid performance. So we'll talk about that. We'll obviously give you a preview of Auburn. It's a big-time matchup. We're on the road again, back-to-back road series. It's never a break in the SEC. It's always a challenge every single weekend. Baseball America has this as a top 10 matchup, 9 versus 3. But the most used one, obviously, is D1 baseball. They have this LSU 3 versus number 11 Auburn. Auburn has been a very good team. Zach, they have won every single one of their series so far in the SEC. Now, their record is 6-6. They kind of split some things, but so it's. I don't think that maths. Now that I think about it,
That math ain't mathing.
Wrong. They won all their home series in the SEC. That's what it said. I'm sorry. I apologize. They won all of their home SEC series so far. They beat a very good Alabama team last weekend. So, it's going to be another tough challenge. You're on the road back-to-back weeks. The grind doesn't stop in the SEC. So, we'll talk about that as well and get a good preview of that. And then there's some extra things we need to talk about. We need to talk about some portal stuff that have been going on with both the basketball teams since our last show. Some really good news for the LSU Tigers on the hardwood, both men's and women's. And so we'll discuss those things as well, and maybe a little bit of spring and those things. So that will be the last segment. So plenty to talk about. We'd love for y'all to get in here and comment and share your thoughts and opinions and your critiques and questions and all the above. and maybe your celebrations as well from what happened this past weekend. So, and maybe your thoughts about this coming weekend. Zach, I can't remember their name, but we've had a new recent visitor, or excuse me, viewer, not visitor. McKenna has I can't say his name, apparently. It's HIPAA laws, right? But there's a patient at the clinic she works at that comes in regularly as an LSU fan and has begun to watch our show routinely.
Wow, awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
I can't even remember their name. But I couldn't tell you it anyways.
Well, hopefully they're watching tonight, and if you are, we appreciate you tuning in.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe they'll comment in here. But I thought that was pretty cool, pretty neat. McKenna got to tell them about that. They're starting to watch. So, the fan base spreading a little bit. All right. What's up, Tyler? What's up, Robert? Appreciate you guys being in here. So, Zach, this past weekend was a big weekend for the Tigers.
Yeah.
For the second week in a row, you sweep an SEC series. LSU has gotten off to its best start, regular season and conference, since 2013. I have been thrilled with this team. I've been thrilled. I think they've gotten better since the Texas series. I think if you play the Texas series again, it goes differently. I would love an opportunity to play Texas again down the road, maybe in the SEC tournament, maybe in postseason play. I really, really would like another shot at them because I think LSU is just as good as them. But you got to play them in Austin, right?
Yeah.
So you got 1 out of 3.
And you had game 2 won, and you just
You
fell
had game
apart.
2 certainly in grasp, and it slipped away from you. I think some pitching decisions now would go a little bit differently in game 2. Now that we've learned more about this pitching staff, I think we would do things differently, a lot differently, and I think we could beat them. I really do. So I'm very, very pleased with this team. They've learned from what happened in Texas, and it has grown. And now they're 10-2 in conference play, well above where you want to be. I mean, you're tracking really, really well. You've set yourself up for some success, but you've got a tough stretch. I mean, you play Auburn, you play Alabama, you play Arkansas, you play Tennessee. The good news is you get to play Bama, Arkansas, and Tennessee all at home. But this weekend you're on the road again, and it's going to be a tough matchup. Anyways, with that being said, LSU swept this past weekend, 2 series in a row. Zach, they used a total of 5 pitchers. 5 pitchers, Zach, on the entire weekend. It was the perfect recipe. It is exactly what you would want as an LSU fan from this pitching staff. I mean, that will probably not happen again for a very long time.
Yeah, LSU fans should not expect the same.
Don't expect that again.
Weekend.
That was a rare thing, and it was fantastic. It was literally the perfect situation for this pitching staff. You got to pitch your best pitchers, period, and that's all you threw out there. You threw your 5 best arms, by far, and it got the job done. I mean, none greater, Zach. I mean, we just have to start with Cade Anderson. He is the absolute highlight of the weekend. There is nothing that happened in Norman that was bigger than Cade Anderson. Complete game, shutout, 14 strikeouts, 135 pitches, 91 of them, Zach. 91 of the 135 for strikes. He was
that's crazy,
phenomenal, and it felt like he found a different gear in the 7th, 8th, and 9th. He brought an energy and a presence to the mound. He was dialed, and Zach, it was impressive based on how the first inning went. I mean, you're looking at it going, boy, he might not make it through 3 innings. He may not make it out of this inning. Bases are loaded. It's 1 out.
Yeah.
And then he gets strikeout, and, buddy, it was on. It was on from there on.
Because, I mean, that's really where you allowed most of the damage done, even though there was no runs put up. But he only faced Reagan 4 more than the minimum. 27 outs. He faced 31 batters.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
It was a phenomenal performance. He's SEC Pitcher of the Week, obviously, clearly. It was a legendary performance, a performance that Tiger fans will remember for a very, very long time. It was amazing. And to add to that, this week, Baseball America released their midseason pitcher of the year, and it is none other than Cade Anderson. And I think at this point, deservingly so. He's been fantastic. He really has. Yeah. Very, very pleased with Cade. And he just sets you up, Zach, for the rest of the weekend. He sets you up so well for the rest of the weekend, saved the entire bullpen. And we know how it played out the rest of the weekend. It couldn't have gotten any better. It could not have gotten any better from your pitching staff. On Friday, you went Ianson, then you went Evans. On Saturday, you went Shores, and then you went Cowan. Closed the book. LSU's pitching did not allow a single earned run the entire weekend. They were phenomenal. Again, it was your 5 best arms, and that's all you threw. That you literally cannot get any better than what you showed in Norman. It was fantastic. So to start that recap, and then we'll get into a little bit more more detailed recap, Zach. You just have to highlight the pitching staff. That was by far the story of the weekend. They were dominant, and it was fantastic. Capped off climax with Cade Anderson's Game 1 performance on Thursday night. It was fantastic. But, Zach, obviously we'll get into the details of all the games, and I'll let you start with Game 1, Zach. But I need to say this. It needs to be said. Oklahoma, please
update that field, brother.
Skip Johnson needs some love in Norman, Oklahoma, brother. That looks like a mid-major park at best.
Friday night, Cade Anderson versus Witherspoon. Attendance was 3,000.
That's unbelievable. Witherspoon against Anderson. That's literally 2 of the best pitchers in the country.
I'm sorry, 3,100. A little over 3,100.
Zach, that was arguably the best.
That's as much as they could fill it. Yeah, I know.
It was arguably the best pitching matchup of the season to this, like by far, up to this point.
Yeah,
and you have 3,100. That was Zach. That park is absolutely pitiful. It is. That is unacceptable.
Well, I mean, they sunk all their money into a completely turf field, so maybe that's where the money went.
I mean, there's not even seats all the way up behind the dugouts. There's like 2 rows behind the dugouts.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
The only place where there is seats that go all the way up is from home plate to the very first side of the dugout, all the way up. Past the dugout, there's like 2-3 rows behind the dugouts, maybe, and then it's just grass.
Yep.
It's horrible.
It's bad.
It is horrendous. That is a good enough program to have way better. They played for a national championship just a couple years ago. That is unacceptable. Yep. They won the Big 12 championship, I mean, literally last year. I mean, are you kidding me? Y'all can't get Skip Johnson anything better?
We can't get like a couple thousand more seats in there at least.
Unbelievable. Like, put some bleachers in there, brother. We know that's in the budget. You ain't even got to put fans. Just put some bleachers in there. That's pitiful. I was really shocked by that. I really was. That there's enough money in Oklahoma to get a better stadium than that.
I guess they're not as invested. I guess Reagan.
Their softball field sits more than their baseball field does.
Well, that's understandable.
Like
it's understandable because of what their softball team has done.
Right, it's dominant. But anyways, I had to say that before we get into this detailed recap. That I'm really like shocked at how pitiful it was.
Yeah, it was pretty pitiful.
So, Zach, tell us about the Game 1.
Well, Reagan, as you mentioned, really, really elite pitching matchup. Cade Anderson going against Kyson Witherspoon. Kyson Witherspoon was good too, Reagan. I mean,
He was fantastic.
He went through 6 innings, didn't get a whole lot of strikeouts, but was able to keep LSU's offense completely at bay. Only gave up six hits in those 6 innings. LSU was able to break through there in the third with a very clutch single by Jared Jones to score Curiel. Outside of that, you had Stanfield that had a double in the 5th to score Hernandez. Hernandez looked really good this weekend, Reagan. He led your team there on Thursday night. He had 2 hits. He was 2 for 3. And then a bunch of other guys kind of, peppered in some hits here and there. I mentioned, Jared Jones had a hit. Curiel had a hit. Ethan Fry had a hit. And Chris Stanfield had a hit. So it was really impressive. It was really impressive by Cade Anderson. But for LSU, the point to be made here is that they just continue to win in different ways. Right. We have seen that, and then obviously you get into game 2, and it was a offensive outpour for LSU, putting up double-digit runs. They scored 10 in the ball game. Here in game 1, they only scored 2 runs, but they got the win. And then in game 3, it would have been a little bit different if not for the really cold and high winds weather that they had in Norman on Saturday. Probably would have been a different game, but LSU again wins a very close, low-scoring ball game. Most in part due to the weather, but they just win in different ways, Reagan, and that's the most impressive thing about this baseball team. When you need a game and you're scoring a bunch of points, LSU can do it. When you need to win a very tightly contested ball game in a pitcher's duel, LSU can do it. They've proven time in and time again that they can win in multiple ways, and they did so again this weekend. So, I mean, there's not really much more to talk about on Thursday, Reagan, other than Cade Anderson. It was crazy to me, Reagan, after 7, of course, I think it was in the 6th inning, he had started to approach 90 pitches. And when he got done in the 6th, we're like, okay, you'll probably run him out there again for the 7th, see how far he can go. If they allow one on, then maybe, they'll pull him at that moment, right? So you're expecting him to come out on the 7th, start the 7th, and then probably get lifted in the 7th if anybody gets on. And I really think he was just on, like, first batter on, like, we're pulling you. And he didn't allow another batter to reach base, which was insane. So he gets through the 7th. At that point, I can't remember exactly, Reagan, but I think he was at like 90 something. It was high 90s, I think, Reagan. I can't remember exactly. Maybe you can back me up on that. And you're thinking, okay, his day is done. Phenomenal performance, 7 innings. He goes back in the 8th, and I was shocked to see him back in the 8th. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, okay. So again, I'm thinking, okay, maybe they're going to let him pitch, get the first guy out, and then pull him. No, he gets the first guy out, stays out for the 2nd and 3rd batter, 1, 2, 3, innings over. And you're like, okay, surely now we're going to go to Kaysen Evans or Cowan, because the dude was at well over 100 pitches.
Yeah.
Right. And then he comes out again for the 9th. And that's when I think everybody was just completely shocked. It was so funny because when you went on Twitter, LSU Twitter, or LSU X, whatever you want to call it, everybody was like posting the final stat line. Like after the 7th inning, posted final stat line. After the 8th inning, posted final stat line. And then he comes out again in the 9th, and everybody's like, what the heck is going on? This is crazy. And sure enough, 135 pitches later, Cade Anderson gets you a complete game shutout. Just insane. I don't know, Reagan. I don't know if I have ever watched an LSU pitcher in my lifetime throw for 135 pitches. Have you? I can't think of one. I can't think of now. Maybe back like when Aaron Nola and Kevin Gosman were there. Maybe.
I don't know. Alex Lang may have gone.
Alex Lang. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what if we got maybe somebody in the comments is here and they can think back to one of the pitchers in recent, in the last 2 decades of a pitcher at LSU throwing for around the same amount. But I think they'd be hard pressed to find an LSU pitcher in the last 2 decades that threw for 135 pitches in a game. Just insane. And really, Reagan, that caps off game one. I know you talked about it, but that really capped off game one, Reagan. And then you get to game two, and you really liked the matchup, obviously, with Ianson on the mound, going up against Cade Crossland. And Cade Crossland was good. He was good, but I mean, LSU only used 2 pitchers in game two, Reagan. And on the contrary, Oklahoma used 7.
18 pitchers.
Yeah, like they're running everybody out.
A whole
there.
host of folks. Yes.
Or it was crazy.
They had about conceded it when they threw that position player in there. I can't remember what his name was, but
was it Jackson Kircher? No, who was it?
No, it was
Brandon Kane.
Brandon Kane.
Yes, Brandon Kane. He was the last pitcher of the ball game, and dude was pitching for his first time in collegiate baseball. Yeah, first appearance ever in collegiate baseball, and LSU just lit him up. I really honestly felt bad for the guy. Like
they gave him a good taste of that SEC life.
They really did. Like they touched him up pretty good.
Yeah.
But anyways, LSU exploded there in the second inning of game two. Stanfield doubled to score Pearson and Milam. Curiel then doubled, and Jones singled there in the second inning. I mean, the guys you expect to be key contributors for you, Curiel and Jones. But Stanfield just continues to have a really successful SEC campaign so far. He had a hit that scored a run in game one, and then in game two, he had, he was 4 for 5 with 4 RBI.
Yeah.
Stanfield was the story of game two outside of Anthony Ianson, which I knew Anthony Ianson also really good game. Wasn't anything like Cade Anderson, but
it was
5 2/3. He did have 4 walks, but 8 strikeouts, only allowed 3 hits. And again, no earned runs. You'll take that every day from starting pitching. And, I was a little surprised, Reagan, to see that Kason Evans came in. I thought maybe we'd see we've seen Cowan be the first key reliever out of the bullpen for you. Sure. And so I was a little bit surprised to see Kason be the first one out of the bullpen and for it to not be Cowan, but it worked out perfectly for you this weekend. Kason Evans came in, shut the door. He did allow 2 hits, but 5 strikeouts. Just both those guys were phenomenal.
And Zach, I'll say this. It always seems with Anthony that there's one inning. It seemingly happens every game. There's one inning where he gets touched a little bit or maybe walks a couple guys and struggles. And they've kind of learned to let him work through it.
Yeah.
Right.
And that happened in the third.
That's right. That's where they scored the runs and in the third, and they let him work through it. And then he got out of it, and then went 5 2/3. Right.
Yep.
And that is a trait that he kind of has, that he kind of gets better as he goes. We'll have an inning, and he really tends to work out of it without it being major, massive damage. And I think that's the mistake that was made in Texas that they learned from, that they're doing differently now. Because he was in a pinch in Texas. You had a lead still. You let him maybe work through that game may look a lot different. But
and then also from the Texas series, you've learned that you can really ride your 2 best guys in Kason Evans and Zach Cowan.
That's right.
And you can get through a weekend and win a series with your 3 starters and those 2 guys.
Yep.
And that's exactly what they did this weekend, which was just insane. But yeah, he got touched up a little bit there in the third. Again, no earned runs because the ones that scored, I can't remember exactly how they got on Reagan. I want to say maybe it was an error Yeah, there was 2 errors that LSU had in the game. So no earned runs there in the third, although he did get hit up a little bit with the single and the double there in the third. Made it 4-2. But then Josh Pearson said, all right, we're going to end this game. Josh Pearson homered in the 6th. He homered in the 9th. Dickinson homered in the 9th. Stanfield doubled to score Braswell and Hernandez in the 9th. You had a really, really big inning there in the 9th inning to really just close the door. And by that point, it was over. And that's, of course, when they had brought in – they really – Reagan had kind of conceded when the game got to – when it got to 6-2, they had really kind of conceded, which is kind of crazy to me because, like, it's 4 runs. Like, you get the bases loaded and you're one swing away from tying the game, but it was 6-2 and they had really conceded the game by throwing all the pitchers that they did. And obviously they brought in Brandon Kane, who has not pitched at all this season until then. And LSU absolutely made them pay. So LSU wins game 2 and is able to take the series. And then you were just playing with house money at that point, Reagan. And you looked up and you're like, holy cow, we've got everybody for Sunday. You're going to have Shores. You didn't even pitch Zach Cowan on Friday and Saturday, which, if you remember, Reagan, an earlier podcast during the season, I said if LSU can ever hold Cowan to Sunday, it's very dangerous for other teams. Like,
it is.
They're in a really, really good spot if you can hold Cowan to Sundays, to a Sunday game. And that's exactly what happened with the performances from Cade Anderson, Anthony Ison, Kason Evans on Thursday and Friday. And a little bit better attendance there in that game, Reagan. A little bit over 3,200 in that game. But LSU went into Sunday with some house money to play with. And really just kind of a weird game. As I mentioned earlier, cold, windy, little bit rainy a little bit. But Reagan, why don't you share a little bit about Sunday's game as LSU was able to cap off the weekend with a sweep?
I think you kind of described it perfectly. It was a weird game because the majority of LSU's runs, 2/3 of them, because you only scored 3 runs, 2 of them came off of an error. Curiel had grounded to second, and man just didn't get his glove all the way on the ground, and it went right through his legs and scored 2 on that error. Stanfield, Reeves and Hernandez scored on that, and I mean that, in the second inning, early in the game. I mean, this was the kind of game where you were wanting to just put balls down. You put any of them up, they were probably getting caught, and that kind of proved to be true through the rest of the game. But man, credit to Curiel, in the moment with guys on base, even though it was 2 outs and he didn't technically get a hit, you put the ball in play. You didn't strike out. And when you put the ball in play, good things can happen. And guess what? It did. He misplayed the ball, didn't get his glove down, 2-run score. And then Oklahoma responded with a run in the second as well. Shores, this was one of Shore's better performances. It was one of his better performances. Again, not like real flashy numbers, but he completed 5 innings, only allowed the 1 run, but it wasn't an earned run. He did have 4 walks. Again, the walks kind of tend to be a problem for him. 4 strikeouts. It was a more efficient day than what we've seen from Shores. Shores was not getting kind of teed off on like he does every now and then in games. He wasn't giving up a bunch of hits in this game near as much as he did in other games. He only had 3 hits in this game. He's been around 5-6 in other games. About 2, 3, 4 runs. So 1 earned run with only 3 hits. I was very pleased. Again, the pitching overall was great this week. It's the best weekend by far, and probably the best weekend of the year.
And they really wouldn't have even scored in that inning if it hadn't been for the pass ball.
That's right.
Because the bases got loaded. He walked the third batter to load the bases. And then he goes strikeout to get the second out, and you're like, holy cow, we can get out of this inning without being unscathed. And then unfortunately, pass ball, scores the guy from third, runners advance, but then strike out again to end the inning,
That's
and
what's up.
LSU's out of it.
You got that. You got that batter. You struck
Yep.
that batter out.
Yep.
I'm not going to talk bad about Luis Hernandez at all because he's been fantastic. He's been a really key weapon that is not talked about a lot in this lineup. In fact, Stanfield and Hernandez are not talked about a lot in this lineup at all. And Stanfield and Hernandez are the two best hitters in the SEC so far.
Yeah.
So I don't want to talk bad about him at all, but for some reason, it's a trend. Like we catchers need to be on their feet, man. They don't need to have a knee on the ground, and that cost Luis there. That ball got passed because of that. I mean, it's just lazy. That's really what it is. And I mean, Josh Jordan is the catcher's coach, and like that needs to be corrected because both Aaron Beatty and Luis put a knee on the ground, and it's just unacceptable. Like there's no reason. You need to be on your toes so you can put your knees down and block quickly. If you're on your knee like that, you're not near as quick. Not near as quick. And had he would have been in a better stance, he could have blocked that ball, but he wasn't. Yeah. And the ball got passed, run scores. You end up getting out of the inning anyway. You could have gone out, you could have gotten out of it scoreless. But again, that's just how it goes. Ball passed. They cut the lead in half, 2-1 there in the second. But Curiel, man, he scored drove in all three of your runs for you in this game. In the fourth inning, he got the double to drive in Stanfield. Stanfield on base again. Stanfield had a phenomenal weekend. 3 doubles. I think he was like 5 for 8 or something like that on the weekend. He was great. He really was. Cowan comes in after the 5th, obviously, to replace Chase Shores. He was the only pitcher that came out in relief. Shockingly, this was a bit of I don't even want to say it's a bad performance because it wasn't a bad performance. But this was like not his best. I think that's a good way to say it. It wasn't his best. It certainly wasn't a bad performance because, man, his changeup was dominant. I mean, his changeup is filthy, but he pitched 4 innings, Zach, only one unearned run there in the 9th when it got a little hairy, but he gets 4 strikeouts and the 2 walks. That 9th inning was it was really only the 9th inning where he got a little uncharacteristic, but he closed the door anyway, right? There was 2 guys on base after that score, and the last batter kind of hit a line drive out to center field. Thankfully, Stanfield was there to make the play. And condition-wise, it made it a lot of plays easy for the outfield. It really did. When did Jake Brown make that phenomenal play?
I was in the first inning. It was the very first inning. Curiel had the catch, the sliding catch.
The sliding catch. That's right.
And then the next it might have been the first. No, yeah, it was the second out.
That's
and
right.
Then the next out, Jake Brown.
That closed the inning. Yeah.
Yes, closes the inning with a leaping grab at the wall, which was telling away from him and looked like a for sure double, if not a triple. And yeah, Jake Brown saved the play, which was really phenomenal. So your outfield really was backing up Chase Shores there in the first inning because it could have gotten away from you. I mean, you could have easily given up 2 hits there, and Curiel and Brown stole 2 hits from Oklahoma there in the first inning. So, really, really, really cool, Reagan.
You love to have fast outfielders. It's just, it's a commodity, and we got them.
It is. It is. And now LSU, Reagan, after this weekend, way ahead of where you want to be. I mean, obviously you want to be undefeated, but that's just seems unrealistic. In the SEC, it just seems really unrealistic. But LSU has not lost at home in SEC play, Reagan. They're undefeated, 6-0 in SEC play at home, 4-2 on the road. 4-2 on the road, which is just extremely impressive. And, you had to go to Texas. You had to go to Oklahoma, 2 top 10 teams. Texas, of course, top 5. You're going on the road at Auburn. and then you're going to get 2 home series back to back. So if LSU can win 2 out of 3 this weekend against Auburn, and I mean, if you're able to win your series, these next 2 series following that at home, I mean, Reagan, you're looking at a team that could, very easily
in the SEC.
16-5 in the SEC, which is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just crazy. Through 7. So through 7 weeks. So yeah, Reagan, LSU is well ahead of the curve right now. If they just keep doing what they're doing, they're going to be a top 8 national seed. I mean, if they just keep doing what they're doing, they're going to be a top 8 national seed. They're going to host a regional, host a super regional. Obviously, if they advance past the regional, so and really it won't even matter. Like the SEC tournament won't matter. What you do, you could easily just lose. The first 2 games.
Single elimination now,
and it won't matter.
Single elimination now.
Yeah,
it's 16 teams, single elimination. Every team goes because it's a perfect bracket now with 16 teams.
Correct.
So you lose one, you go home, and it really won't be that big of a deal. But you save, like you said, save them, get ready for regionals.
Exactly.
Man, I just drew a blank on what I was about to say. I was about to say something, but I just drew a blank. Anyways,
you move to the midweek, Reagan. LSU facing Nicholls.
That's what I was about to say. If you keep doing what you're doing, and maybe a couple guys come along in the bullpen, man, you really, really could. Because those 5 guys that we saw this past weekend, they're your dudes. Those are your dudes. You need like 3 more guys to kind of come along. And that's what I was talking about the midweek. You saw some of those guys that could potentially be those type players that can, bridge the gap between these big time players, right? Like between Anderson and Cowan or Ianton and Evans or whoever. Sometimes, Kate Anderson isn't pitching a complete game every week, right? He may not even pitch 7 each week. He may go 6. So you need a guy to come in and fill the gap a little bit there, and kind of bridge things. And man, this midweek game was very promising in that aspect. Now you're on the road. It was a tougher game than you expected to be. These in-state schools always want to play up for LSU. You're in their stadium. And Zach, you didn't score till the 7th inning. They held you scoreless until the 7th inning. It was really a lot of bad luck because for the first 6 innings, Zach, 5 out of the first 6 innings, you had the leadoff hitter on base.
And a lot of the times in those innings, there were balls that were squared up.
That's right.
And they just found gloves.
Or double play or whatever it was. It was just
there was some really good defense. Nicholls played some really good defense in that ball game. I mean the outfielder Booker had some really great catches. I mean
that dude's quick. That dude is quick.
He's quick. LSU very easily could have blown it open, in the earlier innings with as many times as you had the leadoff hitter on, and they were squaring balls up, but they just weren't finding the grass, and so unfortunately, you got yourself in the situation you were in, which was down 3-0, heading into the 7th. But luckily for LSU, LSU's offense does what LSU's offense typically does, and that's put up a crooked number. At some point in the ball game, that's what LSU's going to do. They're going to put up a crooked number, and obviously it happened there in the 7th. Milam singled to score. Danny Dickinson there in the 7th, and then Brown singled. Stanfield singled, and LSU was able to put up a 5 spot in the 7th inning, and that was it. That's all you needed. That's all you needed, Reagan. Why? Because as you mentioned, you were looking for guys in the bullpen to step up. We needed some more pitchers outside of Evans and Cowan, and you saw 2 guys that had really promising performances, and it was 2 guys that you really thought heading into SEC play that you would be able to count on, and unfortunately, it just hasn't gone that way so far in the first 4 weekends of SEC play. Obviously, those two players are William Schmidt and Connor Ware. If you're an LSU fan, you know how it's gone, right? Connor Ware, the lefty, who a lot of people thought was arguably your best pitcher coming into the season. Like, I mean, as far as what was going on in preseason practices, like just performance wise, he was outperforming all the other pitchers and looked really good early on in the season, but really struggled once you got into SEC play. William Schmidt, the highly heralded freshman who passed on millions to come to LSU instead of go to pro baseball, instead of going into pro baseball and beginning his career there, comes to LSU and was expected to be absolute lights out for you and looked that way early on in the season, but then got to SEC play and really struggled with command. And when he was, trying to avoid the command issues, he was getting touched up. And it's crazy though, Reagan, because William Smith's 5-0. As much as we talk about how rough it's been for those two, William Smith's 5-0. He got the win against Nicholls on Tuesday night, and he was the story. I thought Connor Ware pitched really well, Reagan, because he went 3 complete, only gave up 2 runs, didn't strike out anybody, but he was able to get ahead and get hitters out quickly. I mean, he induced a lot of ground outs, a lot of fly balls early in the count, and that allowed him to only throw 30-plus pitches in those 3 innings. I mean, I think he was averaging like 12 pitches per inning, which is really good. That's extremely efficient. You're not striking guys out, which is what everybody wants to see, but really efficient, 37 pitches through 3 innings. You gave it over to Newt, and unfortunately, that's another guy you were really hoping, because there's been the last couple 2 to 3 outings, he's looked really good, but unfortunately here in this game, he started really well, got the first 2 guys out quick, and then had 2 walks and 2 hits to give up the 3 spot where Nicholls took the lead.
Had some good 2-out hitting. I think they scored all their runs on 2 outs.
Yes, they did. And so, unfortunately, Newt didn't have a great performance, but I fully expect Newt to be able to bounce back. I think he has proven more so that he has been more good than bad this season.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, but obviously the story is William Schmidt. William Schmidt is somebody that you've wanted to count on, especially going into SEC play. It hasn't happened so far, but doesn't mean it can't happen the rest of the way or in the postseason. And a lot of people have likened it to Cade Anderson. We remember last year, Cade Anderson was absolutely phenomenal, right? Just looked so good in pre-conference. And we remember that Southeastern game where he struck out 13 dudes, and it was just really impressive. And then he got to SC play, and he got hit on. But as the year progressed, you saw Cade Anderson get better and better and better, and he eventually became one of those guys that you really counted on out of the bullpen. And in the regional last year was really good against in the North Carolina regional. And so you saw the progression there happen. And hopefully this is a very similar story for William Schmidt. Hopefully this is the turning point where you saw the struggle early on in SC play, and maybe, even though it's Nicholls, maybe you see a turning point. Because, I mean, we were even seeing him struggle in the midweek games a little bit, once SEC play started. Maybe that was confidence. I don't know. But had a really good game. You hope to see more of it moving forward. So that'll be a storyline to follow, Reagan. But other than that, Reagan, is there anything else you want to comment on the Nicholls game?
No, I think that's it. That's it. We need to get into this Auburn preview. Obviously, we already mentioned it, but it's a big-time matchup. Again, seems like it's like that every weekend. Big-time matchup, SEC, LSU, in Auburn, on the plains, if you will. It's kind of a storyline, Zach. It's kind of a storyline, right? LSU and Auburn traded some players, obviously, that are playing very key roles. I mean, Auburn's Chris Stanfield is our starting center fielder, and we're getting more out of him than what Auburn got out of him. Sammy Dutton is transferred from LSU to Auburn, and he's their Friday night pitcher, Zach. That's certainly more than what he was doing at LSU, so they're benefiting from getting him as well. So that will be a really interesting matchup, watching Sammy Dutton go against his old Tiger on Friday night. Zach, he has a 2.66 ERA. That is slightly better than Cade Anderson, 2.85. The difference is Cade Anderson has like 24 more strikeouts than Dutton. Dutton also has a 4.2 record. Cade Anderson is undefeated with a 6.0.
Well, Sammy Dutton, we know from his time at LSU, he's always been a pitch to contact guy.
That's
right?
true. He's not a big strikeout guy.
He's not a big strikeout guy. He's a pitch to contact guy, which I think plays in favor of LSU because LSU is really good at hitting the baseball this season. So, we'll see how that goes.
Yes, and it'll just be fun to watch that matchup. You'll get to watch Chris Stanfield get in the batter's box against Sammy Dutton on Friday night in the playoffs. Yeah. That's this world we live in now with the transfer portal.
Unless LSU just really puts it on early,
that's
maybe you don't see Stanfield face Dutton, but
yeah, that would be wild.
That would be crazy. But who knows? Maybe, most likely you'll see Stanfield go up against Dutton, which is a pretty cool story.
But that'll be a great matchup, Zach. Friday night, it's going to be a good matchup. You're going to have Cade Anderson against Dutton, two Friday night aces on the Plains. It'll be fantastic. You got the advantage when it comes to starting pitching, though. Obviously, yes, the numbers are similar, but Cade Anderson has been the better pitcher on the year. His record's clear about that. His strikeouts. So you got the tip there with Anderson over Dutton. Ianson, I think, has certainly got the tip over their Saturday guy, Cade Fisher. Has a 4.43 ERA compared to Ianson's 3.38. He's pitched like half the innings that Ianson has pitched. He doesn't seem to stay in very long. He only pitched 20 innings so far this year. Got more walks, 17 walks, 25 strikeouts. Ianson has 42 innings pitched, 66 strikeouts. So I'm going to say we have the edge there as well. And like most ball clubs, Auburn does not have a Sunday guy consistently yet. It's to be decided, to be announced against Chase Shore. So you like the pitching matchups in favor of LSU. You also like the matchup in terms of offensively against LSU, although Auburn is a good offensive team. They're a solid offensive team, and that's led by Ike Irish, who's hitting .421 on the season right now. It's top 5 in the SEC. Ike Irish has been a phenomenal player at Auburn. So he'll be fun to watch. What's up, Zeke, man? Mama let him stay up 30 minutes extra tonight.
He looks a little tired. Looks a little tuckered out.
He's tired. I love you, buddy. You get some good sleep. Say night-night.
Night-night, Zach.
Say go Tigers.
Night, Zeke. Love you, bud.
Love you, buddy. You have some good sleep, okay?
Okay.
So, yeah, this Auburn team is good for a reason. They're ranked number 9 and number 11, number 12 for a reason. They're coming off a big-time win against Alabama. I can't remember if they played them at Alabama or at Auburn. But either way, it was a big win over a very good Alabama team. And it's going to be a challenge. You're in their stadium. It's certainly a better stadium than Oklahoma's. There'll be a lot more fans there. But it will be a good challenge, Zach. I'm looking forward to it. I do think LSU will get the victory here, maybe 2 out of 3. I think this is a series on the road, a difficult opponent. I think Oklahoma was a bit overrated at 10. I think they're a bit overrated, and I think that'll play out to be true through the rest of the season.
I mean, they have a losing record in the SEC.
That's
already.
Right.
So
that's right. I mean, they had lost their series before us too. They had lost the series coming in. So again, 10 felt a bit overrated for me. and their stadium isn't much of an impact. Auburn Stadium will be. I think this is a legit team. They have some legit hitters. Their bullpen is very solid. It is their bullpen. I'll go ahead and say this: they get the nod when it comes to the bullpen. They use their bullpen very well. Jay Johnson was quick to point that out in one of his previews of this coming series as well. So it'll be a big time matchup, Zach. There's no doubt about it. But I think the Tigers get this one. I do think they take 2 out of 3 in this one, Zach.
Yeah, I'm hoping. Going on the road in the SEC is very difficult to do. And LSU so far has fared really well on the road. You look at the Texas series, and you really should have had 2 out of 3. Unfortunately, in that second game, as we've said and as we've gone over before when it happened, things just unraveled. And then obviously this weekend, top 10 team on the road. I don't know if you can call it a hostile environment when there's only like 2,000 people there, but on the road, top 10 matchup, you swept the Sooners. So LSU definitely has the ability to win this series on the road. I think it'll be more difficult than it was this past weekend, even though this weekend, I mean, you had some really close games. I mean, game 1 and game 2 were really tightly contested ball games.
That's right.
And LSU, fortunately, just came out on the winning side of things. At some point, the baseball gods got to even that out a little bit, So, but I really like every single matchup when you look at all 3 of these games. I like Cade Anderson over Sammy Dutton. I like Chase Shores, Ianson, over Cade Fisher in game 2, and then they have a TBA for Sunday, as you mentioned, and Chase Shores is throwing. So, the biggest question right is can LSU not replicate, but have a similar performance from its pitching staff? You're not going to replicate what you did this past weekend at Oklahoma, but can they have a similar performance from their bullpen? We know that you've got studs in Kaysen and Zach Cowan out of the bullpen. I really think you're going to have to see 2 to 3 more pitchers this weekend. Reagan, the other storyline is, do we see Gavin Guidry? Guidry? Jay Johnson mentioned that the timeline for Gavin Guidry coming back was looking like it'd be the Auburn series. Well, here we are. It's the Auburn series. I don't know, Reagan. It'll depend on how things play out. I don't know if we see him still, Reagan, because as we
throwing him in the fire there.
Yeah, it's a little bit throwing it in the fire, coming off the injury and first time pitching, this season. I feel like maybe we'll end up seeing him in the midweek following this series is probably when we see him. Who knows? Maybe we see him this weekend. That'd be awesome. We definitely know that he's not afraid of the moment. We definitely know that. But might be a difficult situation to put him in. So let's see. RP said something. He's on the injury report. On the injury report, he put for at least tomorrow. Okay, so I guess he's not gonna play tomorrow. I'm assuming from what RP said.
Playing this weekend.
But anyways, Reagan, I do think LSU gets 2 of 3 this weekend. I'm not going to expect LSU to sweep, even though I didn't expect LSU to sweep against Oklahoma, and yet we did. But I do think LSU gets 2 out of 3. I know it's going to sound shocking, Reagan. It's probably going to sound a little bit shocking, but I think if LSU loses a game, I think it could be Friday night. I know that sounds a little bit crazy to say, but home crowd at Auburn, Sammy Dutton is pitching against his former team. He's going to go out there and want to be lights out. I mean, there's going to be some added motivation there for Sammy Dutton. There's a lot of pressure, I think, on Cade Anderson, although he probably isn't feeling any of that pressure. But it just, there's a lot of pressure, I think, mainly from the fan base as to like, okay, Cade Anderson, you just went complete game shutout, 14 strikeouts. There's going to be a lot of expectation coming in this Friday night ball game. And as typical, sometimes we, as LSU fans, if we get let down a little bit, we like to lose our minds. So I don't know. We'll see how Friday goes. But Reagan, I honestly think that LSU, if they're going to lose a game this weekend, I think
Could be Friday.
it could be Friday. I really do. So we'll see how tomorrow goes. I could be dead wrong and LSU dominates on Friday. I don't know. We're going to find out.
Fantastic.
But I also would not be surprised if LSU loses 2 games in this series. And I wouldn't be upset about it because, again, you're just not going to be able to replicate what you did this past weekend, Reagan. I mean, pitching wise and then sweeping on the road. I mean, that's extremely difficult to do in the SEC. So, I don't know, Reagan. I'm going to say LSU wins 2 out of 3, but I think it's a lot more difficult for LSU than it was this past weekend against Oklahoma. Even though, it seemed like it was easy, didn't it, Reagan? Even though you won game 1 by just 2 points and you won game 3 by just 1 point.
Because of the pitching. They were so in control.
Yes.
It felt
it just felt it. The 2 runs in game 1 felt like 5. Yeah. And then in game 3, Shores and Cowan, the way that he was pitching, it felt like you were up 3, right?
And the weather.
Yeah.
You're not hitting the ball out.
Yeah.
You're not hitting the ball out. So
exactly. So I really hope LSU though can win 2 out of 3 because I mean, Reagan, could you think 12-3? Reagan, could you think compared to last year, right? This weekend, right? Everybody talks about last year. You were 3-12, right? You were 3-12.
You'd be 12-3
at the halfway mark.
You
could completely flip the script from last year. If you can win 2 this weekend, you can be sitting at 12-3. So, Reagan, that's what I'm going to go with. LSU wins 2 out of 3. They flipped the script from last year, going 3-12 to end up 12-3 at the end of this weekend, which would be just a phenomenal start for this team.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we need to hit a quick break, come back, hit some comments.
We really do.
Yeah, because it's already an hour in, essentially. And we'll hit a quick little extra on the basketball portal. We'll wrap it up right after that.
5-Star Hero, your intro and outro music for the Tigers Avenue show. They ain't ready for that LSU. Go check out all his other music on all the major platforms. Don't forget to follow him on Instagram at Saints Anthem and at Twitter at OneNationDoty. Don't forget to check out his Facebook page for all his Saints and LSU merchandise. Can't get any better than Sarah Klein Stevens, attorney at law. Her firm focuses on the needs of the elderly and maintaining their dignity throughout the process. Here for you, here for your family. Sarah Klein Stevens, attorney at law.
Right back at it here in the Tigers Avenue show. Zach, I know there's some comments in here.
Yeah, there's a ton. I mean, we've got almost 100 viewers in here, so and we got a ton of comments to get to. So really cool. RP's in here as usual. He says he's predicting Chris to go yard against his former team this weekend. First home run of the year against your former team. A little bit of Michael Braswell magic, maybe a little bit. My coworker JP's in here. Let me see. Oh, hold on. There we go. JP's in here. He says, "Hey Zach, can you lay flooring at my house? I heard you were great." Yeah, word got around that I did a little bit of home renovation this past weekend.
Oh, lovely.
Laid some flooring down in our laundry room. It was just like bare concrete. Looked horrible. It wasn't like the good concrete, you know what I'm talking about? Like, you have those like nice concrete floors that are done up real well and it looks really good. This was like the foundation, like it was just the foundation sitting there in the
house there.
Yeah, it's just the house right there. Bare bones. But yeah, my wife says he's very good. Contact me. I can schedule you. Wonderful. So now my wife is contracting me out for more chores. Let's see what else is on here. RP on the catching. I don't understand why they teach it that way now. When I was a catcher all my life and never put a knee on the ground. There you go, from a former catcher. There you go. I guess my former or my current coworkers are just popping in here. Jason Harmon, who is a very avid Arkansas fan, all sports, basketball, baseball, football.
He lives to be disappointed.
I have a lot of Arkansas fans as friends, Reagan, and Jason is probably the first one out of all of my Arkansas friends who are. I mean, they're like diehards, but Jason's probably the first that I've met that avidly watches all three sports. So kudos to him, because like a lot of my close friends that just love Arkansas, they don't follow the baseball team as much. I'm like,
That's
what
a
are you
shame.
doing? That's the best. That's the best one.
It is.
That's the best part of Arkansas men's sports
That's true.
is the baseball team. Like, what are you doing? You're making yourself miserable. You're making yourself miserable with football and basketball, because their basketball team's always good, but they always lose like in the Sweet 16, right? Like every year. Yeah. Football is always like 6-6, 7-5, like at best. 8-4 every now. You're like, dude, like y'all gotta watch. I've been telling my friends from college, like, y'all need to watch Arkansas baseball. It's the best.
Dave Van Horn, baby. Dave Van Horn. Yeah. But hey,
JP said, I hear these guys like comments and good sports. That is 100% true. 1,000% true.
Nice headshot there, JP.
Yeah, he's got a good little. Yeah, I like it. Looking good. Looking good. Let's see what else is in here. RP said Oklahoma's struggling in midweek, so they probably be unranked soon.
Yeah.
Did they lose the midweek after we swept them?
I don't know. But more importantly, speaking of midweek, Auburn played Georgia Tech in the middle week. It was a top 20 matchup, and Auburn
very close game.
Auburn won in a close game. It did. I think they won it at Georgia Tech. So it's pretty good.
Let's see. I like to refer to that
DBU
as a
did beat them
hog-style environment. There you go.
Hog-style.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He said DBU did beat them. Oh, they killed them. They, like, destroyed them, if I remember correctly. It was, like, 11-1 or something like that. Like, crazy.
That may not be a very good resume win, as good as we think it is.
Yeah. JP said, love you, Ruru.
Love you, baby.
Jason said, those dirty turds aren't true Hog fans. Hig fans. Got to support it all.
That's right.
That's right. You got to support it all. Like, you think we enjoy watching LSU basketball get destroyed every night? But here we are this season, watching them getting destroyed every night.
Get killed. Game in, game out.
We celebrated, when they won.
When they beat Oklahoma. They beat Oklahoma.
They beat Oklahoma. They beat Arkansas. Beat South Carolina. We were like, woo. Wow, we won a game. So, anyways, well, Reagan, we've got a few things to mention here as we wrap up. Spring portal is open for football, Reagan. LSU possibly looking at a couple, maybe some targets on the defensive line at DT and maybe at offensive line. We'll see. I really don't know if you're going to see any players for LSU in the spring portal, but we'll see. But it is interesting to look at. Maybe you've got some guys that leave LSU's program in the spring portal. I don't know. We haven't seen anything yet. It's only a 10-day window, so we'll see. But Reagan, obviously, the big news is in men's basketball. Yeah,
by far. I mean, they're top 5 in just about every portal ranking. You've added 5 players. I think the last time we had a show, Nwoku and Rashad King had announced. I think Rashad King announced while we were on show.
Yes, that's correct.
The center, Michael Nwoku, was the first one to drop from State. He'll be a good role player. I think he'll play inside with Jalen Reed a good bit. Not big-time numbers, but I think a good role player based on what I've talked about with some other State fans. A solid role player. Plays his role good. Rashad King dropped a big one from Northeastern. 18 points a game and 6 rebounds a game. 3 assists a game. Very productive player. Max McKinnon from Portland, kind of a wing player. Rashad is like a shooting guard. Max McKinnon's like a 6'6" wing type player out of Portland. From Australia, Zach. Averaged about 15 points a game. And then Zach, by far the biggest two additions, by far. Obviously, no, Dayton Thomas is the one that added while we were on the show last time. Dayton Thomas.
Yes, Dayton Thomas. Yep.
Was the big one. Zach, by the way, I found out, I think he goes by DJ.
Okay.
But
There you go.
I'll say Dayton, just be careful. Dayton was the big time one, top 10 portal player in the country. Zach, you beat up Florida, the reigning national champions, and Kentucky to get Dayton Thomas. That was a big time pull. Top 10 point guard, Dayton Thomas from UNLV, averaged about 15 points a game. And then Zach, the Summit League Player of the Year from Omaha, which Omaha had a fantastic year, made the tournament too. Got put out by St. John's. Markel Sutton, who also, like Rashad King, averages 18 points a game. He is, I think, a small forward. I'm really excited about this addition. 18, almost 19 points a game, almost 8 rebounds a game. He's a 6'8" forward. He is going to be a lot of fun. Zach, the portal class has come together. You've got the freshman class coming in. You got 3 coming in with the freshman class with Reese and Mozzie and the player from Pennsylvania, who I'm drawing a blank on his name. I know he's a big 6'10" player from Pennsylvania. So that's with the 3 returning, 3 freshmen, 5. You got 11 players there. I think you might add one more in the portal, maybe one more in the portal. We'll see. But a great haul, Zach. They said that they were going to go out and spend and invest more in this roster, and they have backed that up. I think, Zach,
for sure.
This is not going to be a contending team. It's not going to be a national contending team. This will be a competitive team, an SEC competitive team. This will put you in the ranks of some of the teams that are kind of like middle pack this year that still made the tournament. I think that could put LSU, what we have added, on a better trajectory. And you got more size with this team. You've got a lot more point production. Pretty excited about the additions so far from the portal. We'll look out to see if they get one more. I think they're maybe looking to potentially add like a wing, one more wing, possibly. You've got a lot of centers, Zach. That's what you were lacking this past year. You've got probably about 3 centers. You got, actually 4. You got Jalen Reed. You've got Robert Miller, who's coming back, Michael Nwoku, and the freshman coming from Pennsylvania, who's 6'10" as well. So you got size. You got maybe you look for a shooting guard, maybe a wing player. But anyways, it's been a good portal class for Matt McMahon, by far his best in terms of rankings. Zach, what really, really stinks is you lost Vic Miller to stinking Oklahoma State. Like, you left LSU to go to Oklahoma State.
I don't know.
Come on, dog. But worse than that,
Corey Chess going to Ole Miss.
Corey Chess went to Ole Miss, like, of all places.
Yeah.
Of all places. You just know.
You'll see him again, obviously.
You just know he's going to go over there with Chris Beard and become some dominant freak, and it's going to make me sick to my stomach.
Probably.
I'm not happy about that one iota.
Reagan, on the women's side of things, it's been very quiet so far. LSU has lost Samaya Smith to the transfer portal, and this week lost Alea Del Rosario.
Yep.
Obviously, Samaya Smith was the big shocker. Not surprised by Alea Del Rosario, just never was able to kind of get going. Just really struggled at LSU in her first 2 seasons to be extremely impactful. I mean, there was times she had some good games here and there, but if you're going to play on LSU, Reagan, you got to make an impact. And unfortunately, Leah Del Rosario just wasn't able to make an impact in her first 2 seasons, so she will transfer on. I imagine she will go to a lower tier school compared to LSU. But you did land Kate Koval from Notre Dame. Wasn't the Notre Dame recruit that transfer portal that you person that you wanted, but you did land Kate Koval, who's still available, right? Now the disappointing thing, Reagan, I'm going blank on her name, was the Florida State.
Watson. God.
Yeah, Latson transferring to South Carolina. Yeah, that was.
Blech.
Yeah, that's brutal. Hey, but guess what? You know what I really enjoyed? I really enjoyed UConn absolutely beating the crap out of South Carolina.
Smart.
Like, beat the dog out of them. That was that made me like, if South Carolina's going to go, I hope they just get destroyed, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
In the women's national championship game, as UConn absolutely embarrassed South Carolina. But unfortunately, Latson went to South Carolina, so LSU will not have her next season. I'm really curious to see what they're going to do, Reagan, because it's been so quiet. It's been so quiet. You haven't seen much.
Kim Mulkey's going to smack us in the face, probably.
I hope so. Reagan, but the good news also is that Flau'jae Johnson's coming back. We haven't got to talk about that. So you're going to have Michaela Williams back. You're going to have Flau'jae Johnson back. You got Kate Koval coming in. Who else does LSU add? Obviously, you have a really, really good freshman class coming in. So LSU looks to reload for the 2026 season in women's basketball, and hopefully we can land some really key pieces out of the transfer portal. Well, Reagan, other than that, I think that's just about it. We're at an hour 13. We've enjoyed everybody being in here, all of my coworkers coming in here, but and our usuals. Tyler Townsend was in here. RP was in here. We missed Ryan tonight. Hopefully Ryan can go back and watch. So just thank all of y'all, and maybe whoever that person is that McKenna met at her job, maybe they were watching tonight. We appreciate you watching if you were.
Yes.
So yeah, Reagan, good show.
Good show. Lots of stuff going on for the Tigers. So looking forward to this weekend against the big matchup with Auburn. We'll see how it plays out. We'll be back here to discuss it next time here in the Tigers Avenue show. We'll see you next time. 5 Star here. Take us out. Peace.